guys, welcome back to my homeschool channel. Today I'm going to be sharing an informative video with you that will help you get started homeschooling your child in the state of Virginia. The first thing you need to do is familiarize yourself with Virginia's homeschool laws. Each state across the country has different requirements for homeschool families, so it's important to know what is required of you in Virginia. The best place to look this up is hslda.org. That's the Homeschool Legal Defense Association. They have made their website super user-friendly. It's easy to find your state, and they have every state's laws listed out on their website. Simply go there, click on your state, and they have it all listed out. I'll be talking about those requirements and laws that they have on their website in this video, but after you're finished watching this video, head over to their website and check them out for some further information. So what are the homeschool laws in Virginia? In Virginia, there are 4 options that you can use to homeschool your child. The first option is the home instruction option. This is the option that most homeschooling families use in Virginia, and it's the option that I also use. In this option, you have to make sure that you meet the requirements for home educating your child. The first requirement is that you possess a high school diploma or a higher degree. If you don't have a high school diploma or a college degree, but your husband does, then under the law, that also meets the requirement for home educating your child. It doesn't have to be the teaching parent that holds that degree. The second way you can qualify is if you hold a teacher's license in the state of Virginia. And the third way that you can qualify is simply if you can prove that you are qualified to provide your child with home instruction. In order to follow this requirement, all you need to do is submit a letter with a brief explanation that explains why you think you are qualified to give your child home instruction. It would be helpful in this letter to include the list of subjects that you plan to teach and a brief description of the activities that you plan to do and how you plan to go about your homeschool year. It's also a great idea to have somebody proofread this letter and make sure that it is well stated and grammatically correct. If you meet any of these requirements for homeschooling your child in Virginia, then the next thing that you need to know is that in Virginia, you are required to file a notice of intent by August 15th each year. You file this notice of intent with your school district's superintendent. In this notice of intent, you write a letter saying that you are planning to home educate your child. You have to write a notice of intent for each child that you plan to homeschool that year. So for me this fall, I'll have to file a notice of intent for 2 of my children because those are the children that are school aged and will be receiving home instruction. If you're not sure where to start with this notice of intent or writing the letter of notice of intent, check out HEAV.org, HEAV.org. That's the Home Educators Association of Virginia. On their website, they have a notice of intent format that you can print off and fill out, and it makes it super easy to comply with this notice of intent law. Along with this notice of intent, when you file it with your superintendent, you'll have to include the copy of your high school diploma or your college degree. It's recommended that you use the highest degree available in your household. Also in this notice of intent, along with a copy of your diploma or degree, you'll need to provide a curriculum description, which is just the list of subjects that you plan to teach your child that year. You don't have to go into detail about what these subjects will cover or what you plan to do within each of these subjects. You just need to include a list of subjects. It's important to remember that when you're submitting this notice of intent to your superintendent, you are not asking for their permission. You're not waiting for them to sign off that they approve of the list of subjects that you are submitting. You are just letting them know that this is what you're going to be doing with your child this year. So how do you file this notice of intent and where do you file it? Each district is probably going to be a little bit different. In our district, we are allowed to email our notice of intents, but some require an actual hard copy that you drop off or mail to their office. Check with your school district, and on most school district websites, they will have a tab for homeschooling and for instructions on how to go about filing your notice of intent. But again, you can also check HEAV.org, HEAV.org, and they actually have a list of addresses of the public school superintendents in Virginia. So I'll link that in the description below for you because it makes it super easy to find your district and the address that you'll need to send your notice of intent to. Some districts may have a form that they want you to fill out, but if they don't, you can, as I mentioned before, write your own letter or use the sample letter on HEAV.org. The third thing you need to know about homeschooling your child in Virginia, now that you know that you've met the requirements and you know how to file a notice of intent, you need to know that you have to provide an evaluation at the end of each school year and then submit that to your school superintendent as well. There are 4 ways that you can go about this. You can have your child take any nationally normed standardized achievement test and then submit those test results showing that your child has attained at least the 4th stanine, which is the 23rd percentile in those tests. When your child is older, the ACT scores or the SAT scores or the PSAT scores also count towards this requirement. In the past, I've used the California Achievement Test for my children to show their progress. You are able to administer that test as a parent in your home, and then you receive the results and you can send those test results in to the superintendent. This year, I'll be using Academic Excellence to have my child take the test on the computer. The second way you can go about this is to have a teacher evaluate your child. This evaluation has to be done by a person licensed to teach in any state, or a person that has a master's degree or higher in any form of education. After evaluating the child, this person then has to write a letter stating that they have evaluated the child and that they believe that the child is achieving an adequate level of growth and progress in their education. Another way to show progress for the school year is if your child is attending college or community college, you can turn in their transcripts. Or if your child is a part of a homeschool correspondence program and they provide report cards, you can use that report card to show that your child has achieved progress throughout the year. It's also important to note that testing is not required for kindergarten. It starts in 1st grade. Providing test results to prove that your child has achieved progress throughout the year can sound really scary, but in my experience with my oldest, our testing weeks have always gone really smoothly and she has always scored really high. It's actually really common for homeschoolers to score pretty high on these standardized tests, and you only have to reach the 23rd percentile, which is not hard to do. So I encourage you to not be intimidated by the fact that you're going to have to test at the end of the year. The 4th thing you need to know about homeschool laws is the compulsory age of schooling in Virginia. Compulsory attendance in Virginia only applies to children who turn 5 on or before September 30th of the current school year. However, if you have a child that turns 5 before September 30th and you don't think they're ready for kindergarten, Virginia allows you to exempt your child for 1 year. This is true for homeschooling families and for families that are sending their kids to school. This is important for homeschool families because instead of filing a notice of intent that year for your kindergartner, you would simply just call the superintendent office and tell them that you're exempting your child from kindergarten that year. There's no statewide form or protocol for you to fill out. Their office may ask that you fill a form out. I know that my school district did. They asked me to sign a paper saying that I was exempting my 5-year-old from kindergarten for that 1st year. So just be aware that that might happen when you call them, but it's just so that they have that record on file that you're exempting them. There's nothing else that you'll need to do for your child for that year. The 5th and last thing I want to mention about homeschooling in Virginia is that you do also have the option to homeschool your children in Virginia under religious exemption. That means you have a true and bona fide religious belief that prevents you from sending your child to school. You need to write a letter to your school board stating upfront that you are asking for your child to be excused under the religious exemption law. In this letter, you need to explain your religious beliefs. In this letter, you'll also need to include how your religious beliefs led you to the conviction that your child attending school would be opposed to your beliefs. Your reasons cannot be philosophical, moral, or political. They must strictly be religious reasons. You'll mail this letter to the superintendent just as you would your notice of intent, and you may be asked to provide a couple of reference letters from people that know you and that can confirm that these are your religious beliefs and that you are actively practicing them. Make sure you keep a copy of this letter and proof that you have sent it to your school board, and then wait for a reply from your school board, because until you get a reply from your school board, your child is not technically excused under the religious exemption law. However, as long as you have your letter on file and proof that you sent it, you can move forward confidently and start your homeschool year. If you run into any trouble, I encourage you to check out HEAV.org or HSLDA.org, and they will provide you with tons of resources and how to respond to any school boards that are questioning your religious exemption letter or your letter of notice intent if you're trying to homeschool under the first option of home instruction. Hopefully this video was helpful and gave you a better understanding of what's required to homeschool in Virginia. If you need further guidance or if you have any questions, please leave a comment below. I'd be happy to answer them if I can, and if I can't, I'd be happy to point you in the right direction. Though the HSLDA does consider Virginia to have moderate homeschool requirements, it is a great place to homeschool. The homeschool community in Virginia is a strong one, and you will find support for homeschooling in many areas of the state. Once you've decided which option your family is going to homeschool under, the next thing you have to do is choose your curriculum. We're not going to go into that in this video, but stay tuned to this channel for more information on how you can choose a curriculum, and also for my curriculum picks for the upcoming 2023-2024 school year. As I mentioned in my last video, I'll also be heading to the Homeschool Education Association of Virginia's Homeschool Conference on June 11th. So be on the lookout for a video from that as I go to their used curriculum sale and their curriculum fair. If you found this video helpful, I would love it if you would give it a thumbs up and comment below how it was helpful for you. And be sure to subscribe to my channel for more homeschool content. It really helps me out so much when you subscribe. Until next time, happy homeschooling.